Okay, and so let's take a look at your epithelial tissues. Okay, and so yes, of course, for this one, we will be taking a look at your epithelial tissues, their structure, the function, and of course, their organ location accordingly. Okay, and so yes, your epithelia, these are layers of cells that line the surfaces of the body, organs, and cavities. Okay, and so if you heard of mesothelium and endothelium, these are made of epithelia. Okay, and so your epithelia, they consist of sheets of cells that cover the external surfaces of the body. They line the internal cavities. They also form various organs and glands. Yes, and they line their ducts also. Okay, and so your epithelia, they are classified based on the number of cell layers and the cell morphology. Okay, and so for the shape of the cell, you have your squamous, you have your cuboidal, and then your columnar. And yes, when you say simple, these are single layer of epithelial cell. You have your simple squamous, you have it a single layer of flat shaped cells. Okay, your stratified, these are made of more than one epithelial cell layer. Okay, and so that is for your simple and stratified epithelia. Yes, your epithelium. Okay, and so they are tightly packed and they are accordingly non-vascular. Okay, and so nutrients and waste accordingly are delivered and transported via diffusion. Okay, and so via diffusion, and yes, the basement membrane separates the epithelium from the underlying connective tissue. Okay, and so your basement membrane. And yes, your epithelium, it has a high regeneration rate. Okay, and so meaning this epithelium, they are dividing cells. They have a high rate of division. Okay, and so they are examples of cells that can undergo your cell cycle. Okay, and so let's take a look at your functions. Your epithelium can function as a physical barrier to protect underlying tissues from mechanical injury, pathogens, and dehydration. Okay, and so example of this, your skin, particularly the epidermis, protects the body from physical damage, ultraviolet radiation, and infection. Okay, and so by your microorganisms, your absorption, your epithelia, they also function for absorption accordingly. Okay, and so this one, your epithelium absorbs nutrients and substances from the external environment or luminal surfaces or surface of the lumen. Okay, your epithelium, example of this absorptive function, you have your small intestines that are actually lined by simple columnar epithelium that absorbs nutrients from digested food. And secretion, this one they produce and release substances like enzymes, hormones, and mucus accordingly. Okay, and so, and then filtration, for your secretion, you have your glandular epithelium that forms exocrine and endocrine glands accordingly. And yes, your filtration, they are also capable of filtering fluids, particularly on organs such as kidneys. Okay, and so, and what they call this, you have your sensation. They also function for sensation, that some of your epithelium contains sensory nerve endings that respond to stimuli accordingly. Okay, and so again, that is for your, you have your examples of this sensation function. You have your skin that detects pressure, heat, pain, and touch. You have your sensitive receptors present. And then your taste buds that detects chemical stimuli in food accordingly. Okay. Your types of epithelium, you have your squamous, they are flat and thin. Your cuboidal, they are cube-shaped. And then your columnar, they are tall and column-like. Okay, and so, and of course, they are classified if they are further classified if they are made of single layer or more than one layer. Okay, and so you have here illustration of your epithelium. Okay, and so this is a diagrammatic illustration of a simple squamous epithelium. Okay, and notice that it is made of one cell layer of epithelium. Notice also that it has a flattened nuclei and of course the underlying basement membrane. Okay, and so this is a histologic picture of a mesothelium. This is your mesothelium. And again, mesothelium, this is made of a single layer of epithelial cells. Okay, and so the C here, the C here is your connective tissue. Okay, and so and your smooth muscle accordingly. Again, your mesothelium, this is an example. This is an example of a simple squamous epithelium. Okay, and so this one is an illustration of your cuboidal epithelium. Okay, and so notice your cube-shaped cells. Okay, and so with a round nuclei accordingly. And then, yes, you have your cube-shaped cells. Okay, and so please look, this you have here your epithelia, your cube-shaped cells with a round nuclei. Okay, and so the BM here is your basement membrane naman. Okay, and so again, it separates your underlying connective tissue from the epithelium. Next, you have here an illustration of your columnar cells. They are tall column-like cells, no? Okay, and so yes, you have for your columnar ones, okay, and so they are taller than wider. Okay, and so histologic picture of a columnar, simple columnar epithelium. Okay, and so of course that is made of a single layer. Notice po the location of the nuclei. Okay, and so the nuclei are at different at same heights. Sorry, the nuclei are at same heights. Okay, and so this is again an example of a simple columnar epithelium. Okay, and so notice. Okay, and so please notice also the location of the nuclei. Okay. And so let's take a look at your types. You have your simple squamous. They're made of a single layer of flat cells. Okay, squash cells. Okay, and so single layer of flat cells. Examples, you have your mesothelium and endothelium. For your mesothelium, it lines the external surfaces of digestive organs, the lungs, and the heart, while your endothelium lines inside of the heart chambers, the blood vessels, and lymphatic vessels. Okay, and so this one functions for filtration, diffusion, transport, secretion, and reduction of friction. Okay, and so filtration, example of this one, please note that in your Bowman's capsule, your glomerulus, they're actually made of endothelium. Okay, and so they are lined by endothelium. Okay, and so and the function of that is to filter substances from the plasma. Okay. Let's move on to your cuboidal. Okay, and so your cuboidal, simple cuboidal, single layer of round or cube-like cells. It lines your small ducts and your kidney tubules accordingly. Okay, and so with this, for the function, it can function for secretion accordingly and absorption. Okay, and so with this, it protects your ducts, transports and absorbs filtered materials in the kidney tubules. Okay, and so for a location of this one, they are located in your kidneys and in your glands accordingly. Okay, moving on, you have your columnar epithelium. You have your cells, simple columnar cells are tall and some are lined by microvilli. Okay, and so later on, we will take a look at the structures present in the apical surface of the epithelia. Okay, and so it lines the lumina of the digestive organs, the lumina or the lumen. Okay, and so the part of your a tissue that faces the lumen, okay? And so it lines the lumina of digestive organs. What is the function of this one? It secretes protective mucus for stomach lining, and also it functions for absorption of nutrients in the small intestines. Okay, and so going back, you have the location. They are located in the digestive tract, and the function is for absorption of absorption and secretion accordingly. Absorption of nutrients and secretion of mucus. And you have your stratified. Again, when you say stratified, more than one cell layer. Okay, and so the superficial, your stratified epithelia, of course, the superficial cell layer determines the epithelial type. Okay, and so determines the epithelial type. In your stratified squamous, you can, this one can be classified as either keratinized or non-keratinized. Okay, and so let's take a look at this one. In your stratified squamous, the superficial cell layer is squamous shape. Okay, and so your non-keratinized squamous epithelium contains superficial cell layer. Okay, and so live with this, they exhibit a nuclei. Okay, and so your non-keratinized squamous forms moist and protective layer in your esophagus, vagina, and oral cavities accordingly. That is for your non-keratinized squamous, non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. This one is an illustration of a stratified squamous non-keratinized. This is non-keratinized stratified squamous. Okay, and so notice that as the superficial layer, okay, and so this layer, they are made of squashed flat cells, okay, and so flat cells, and there is a gradual transition from flat cells, okay, and so to a cube-shaped cells, okay, and so at the germinal area. Okay, and so this one, notice also that in your non-keratinized stratified squamous, your nuclei of your squamous or the nuclei of your superficial cells are prominent. Okay, and so they are prominent. Okay, comparing it with your keratinized, okay, and so your keratinized epithelium contains dead superficial cell layer. Okay, and so keratinized epithelium, what is this function? Is to provide protection against abrasion, bacterial invasion, and drying accordingly. Okay, and so that is the function of your keratinized stratified squamous. Okay, and so this is a histologic picture of a keratinizing stratified squamous accordingly. Okay, and so notice this one. Notice that the cell layer, the superficial layer, does not exhibit a nuclei. Okay, and so because in keratinized squamous epithelia, the cell nuclei is replaced by the protein keratin. Okay, and so the cell nuclei at the superficial layer of your keratinizing epithelium, they are replaced by the protein keratin. They are replaced with the protein keratin. Okay, and so that is why the cells at the top, I mean at the superficial layer, does not contain a nuclei. Okay. Moving on to your stratified cuboidal, this one lines your large excretory ducts in different organs, provides protection for most ducts accordingly. That is for your stratified cuboidal. And then for your stratified columnar, this one lines the miliary tract and large ducts accordingly. Okay, and for the function of this one, it functions for secretion and protection accordingly. Okay, and so that is for your epithelium. Moving on, this one is an illustration of a stratified cuboidal epithelium. Okay, and so notice what you call this, the epithelia accordingly for your stratified cuboidal. Okay, and so your stratified, this one is another one layer of a cuboidal cells and the another layer of cuboidal cells. Okay. Okay, and so next you have here this one is a stratified columnar accordingly. Okay, and so stratified columnar, they are tall cells. Okay, and so more than one cell layer. Okay, and so you have tall and you have the ones that are closer to the basement membrane. Okay, and so for your stratified columnar. Okay, and then you have your pseudostratified columnar. Okay, and so accordingly for this one, in your pseudostratified columnar, all cells reach the basement membrane, but not all of the cells reach the surface. Okay, and so this one, your cells have varying heights again, and the nuclei are at different levels within the cells. Okay, and so please note again that your cells have varying heights. The nuclei are at different levels within the cells, and yes, accordingly, this pseudostratified columnar epithelium is typically associated with cilia. Okay, and so cilia and goblet cells. Okay, and so when you say ciliated, your ciliated cells, these are interspersed among mucus secreting goblet cells. Okay, and so for this one. And in your respiratory passages, you have your ciliated cells. Your ciliated cells clean inspired air and transport particulate matter across surfaces. Okay, and so for your cilia, in ciliated cells in the respiratory, while your ciliated cells in the female reproductive tract and different ducts of your testes, the ciliated cells transports oocytes and sperm across cell surfaces accordingly. Okay, and so that is for your pseudostratified. Let's take a look at the illustration of a pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, and so please note again, this is your basement membrane. This is your basement membrane. And yes, they are all attached. Okay, and so but then you have here your cells. Okay, and so does not all your cells reach the apical surface. Okay, and so notice also that you have varying heights of the nucleus, varying locations of the nucleus. You have one is placed here, another is placed here at the lower area, one is placed at the lower area, and the other placed at other areas. Okay, and so this is an illustration of a pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, and so moving on, let's take a look at your structures at the apical surface of your epithelia. Okay, and so you have here your what do you call this, cuboida, your microvilli, your cilia, together with your stereocilia accordingly. Okay, and so of course the apical surface. This is the exposed surface of your epithelial cells that faces the lumen or the external environment. What is the function of this one is it will enhance the function of your epithelial cells, like like your simple columnar in your what do you call this, in your small intestines. The presence of your microvilli will enhance the absorptive function of your cell accordingly. Okay, of your epithelia, your columnar epithelia in your intestines. Okay, and so with this, accordingly, okay, and so in your cuboidal and columnar, okay, and so your these structures are typically seen in cuboidal and in your columnar cells. Okay, and so these structures of the apical surface of the epithelia, they are typically seen in cuboidal and columnar epithelia. In your cuboidal, you only have the presence of microvilli. In your columnar, you have the presence of microvilli also. Microvilli, particularly the epithelia present in your small intestines, your cilia, okay, and so your cilia, these are located in the uh fallopian tubes for your cilia, and then another one is your stereocilia that are actually present in the vas deferens, and your goblet cells not, but then these are special. Okay, and so special structures. Okay, and so your goblet cells, they are small, they are found in the small and large intestines accordingly. Okay, let's take a look. Your microvilli, these are finger-like projections of the plasma membrane. Okay, and so these are shorter projections of the plasma membrane that cannot be individually resolved by the light microscope. Again, please note that these ones cannot be individually resolved or cannot be seen. Okay, and so when using the light microscope. Okay, and so again, these ones are located in your cuboidal and columnar epithelium. Okay, and so what is the function? Okay, and so this one will enhance absorption of nutrients and fluids. Accordingly, your microvilli, it will enhance the absorption of nutrients in your small intestine. And then it will enhance, your dense microvilli will form a brush border in absorptive epithelial tissues accordingly. Okay, and so your dense microvilli, this is a, what they call this, your dense microvilli, this is actually accordingly a group of microvilli. Okay, and so that with that, they will form a brush border in your absorptive epithelial surfaces. And they are located in the small intestines and in the kidney tubules. Okay, and so moving on, let's take a look at an illustration. This one actually, the B here, this one is an illustration of a brush border. Okay, and so an illustration of a brush border. Now, and again, your brush border, these are group of microvilli. Okay, and so again, another illustration. This one is for in a what they call this electron microscopy. You have here a your brush border. Okay, and this brush border again, they are made of microvilli. Okay, and so this is for your microvilli. Okay, and so your brush border. Moving on, you have your microvilli. This is an illustration of a single microvilli. Okay, and so a group of this one will form your brush border. And then your cilia. Your cilia, these are hair-like extensions that are longer than microvilli. And your cilia, accordingly, or hair-like organelles that are easily resolved by light microscope. Okay, and so yes, you can see your cilia, but when you can discern, you can observe your cilia under the light microscope accordingly. Okay, and so this cilia will beat in coordinated ways to move substances like your mucus in the respiratory tract, and ova in the fallopian tubes accordingly. Again, for your cilia, you move mucus in the respiratory tract. And the tissue location of your cilia, they are located in the respiratory tract and in the fallopian tubes accordingly. Okay, and so this one is an illustration of a cilia. Notice that they are larger than your microvilli. Okay, and so they are larger than your microvilli for your cilia. Okay, again, for your cilia, they are associated with pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, and so your stereocilia, these are long non-motile microvilli. Okay, and so long microvilli that are usually found singles or in small numbers according. In the epididymis, where your stercilia can be located, they aid the help in the absorption of excess fluid. And in the ears, okay, and so stereocilia are involved in the sound detection also. And yes, the tissue location of your stereocilia, epididymis, and inner ear accordingly. Okay, and so that is for your stereocilia. Okay, and so that is, and this one is an illustration of a stereocilia. Notice that they are longer. They are longer than your microvilli. No? Okay, and so they are longer than your microvilli. Okay, and so stereocilia, this one, they are associated with your columnar cells. Okay, and yes, let's take a look at your pseudostratified ciliated columnar. Okay, and so this ones, they contain cilia on the apical surface. And this cilia beat rhythmically to move mucus and debris upward toward the throat accordingly. Okay, and so for expectoration, of course. Okay, and so this. Of course, saan po nanggaling your mucus? Your mucus here are secreted by the goblet cells that are present that are associated with your pseudostratified epithelia. Okay, and so this goblet cells will secrete mucus. What is the function of this mucus secreted by your goblet cells? The mucus will trap dust and pathogens. Okay, and so it will trap dust and pathogens. And yes, your cilia will rhythmically beat to move the mucus and debris upward for expectoration. Okay, and so para po hindi sila pumunta in your, what we call this, respiratory alveoli. Okay, and so they are located again in your respiratory tract, in your trachea, and in your bronchi. Okay, and so again, it moves mucus and trapped particles out of the airways via the cilia. And yes, your pseudostratified non-ciliated columnar, these ones lack cilia and are often found in the reproductive systems. And they function for absorption and secretion, especially in sperm maturation and transport accordingly. And the tissue location in the vas deferens. Your pseudostratified columnars with stereocilia naman, they are what you call this, the absorption, they function for absorption of fluid during sperm maturation. Accordingly. Okay, and then finally, you have your transitional epithelium. This transitional epithelium accordingly changes shape in response to the stretching caused by fluid accumulation. A very good example of a very good location of your transitional is your what you call this, your urinary bladder. Okay, and so your transitional epithelium is found exclusively in the renal calyces, renal pelvis, ureters, and your urinary bladder accordingly. Okay, and so what is the function is it forms protective barrier between urine and the underlying connective tissue. Okay, and so please note of the shape of the surface epithelia of your transitional epithelium is the shape is a dome shape when it is relaxed and flat shaped when it is stretched. Okay, and so empty. Okay, and so it is dome. In your urinary bladder, the shape is dome shape if empty, and flat shape when it is full. Okay, and so full of urine. Okay, and so in your urinary bladder. Okay, and so that is for your transitional. Moving on. This one is an illustration of a transitional epithelium. Okay, and so this one shows since the what you call this, the surface cells are flat, then probably the bladder is full. Okay, and so you have a stretched bladder here. Okay, and so of course that is your epithelium and then the underlying connective tissue. And then you have here your relax. Okay, and so transitional epithelium that is relaxed or a urinary bladder that is empty. Okay, and so you have here for your dome-shaped cells. Okay, and then your germinal epithelium. You have your epithelium, your germinal epithelia. These are epithelia that line the surface of the ovaries and the testes. Okay, and so they do not actually produce your what we call this ovaries. Or they do not produce your ova, sorry, or your sperm cells. Okay, and then you have your neuroepithelium of the taste buds, the epithelia. Of course, with this one, it has sensory function that detect chemical stimuli. Okay, and so chemical stimuli from the food you eat accordingly or those that you drink. Okay, and so of course, this one is responsible in detecting taste. You have your gustatory cells of the taste buds for this one. Okay, and that ends your epithelium.